Tonight, you're going to get to take a sneak peek into some of the beautiful spaces here at the Branch House where we host our special events. This year, we're auctioning off an evening at the Branch House for up to 25 guests. This includes 3 hours of event hosting and planning for you to celebrate any sort of special occasions such as a holiday dinner, an anniversary, or anything special. All funds raised this evening go to help support our programs and the upkeep of this beautiful home.
Happy holidays. Welcome to our live streaming event at the Branch Museum of Architecture and Design. We are thrilled tonight to welcome you to our first effort in doing this and to our holiday celebration. This is the Branch House, which houses the Branch Museum. It was designed by famed American architect John Russell Pope and opened in 1919. So 101 years later, we're here to welcome you back, this time virtually, and to really celebrate this beautiful house. It was the third house that John Carr Branch and Beulah Gould Branch owned. They had a home in Fiesole, Italy, and one in upstate New York, in Pawling, New York. And they wanted to be here with families and with extended family and Richmond friends because John was very much a Virginian, and Beulah adopted this as her home state. But to celebrate with family and friends in this spectacular 27,000 square foot Tudor Revival mansion. So we're going to take you inside. We have several of John and Beulah's descendants who will be with us tonight, and among them the youngest of those descendants, and take you on a journey about how they would have celebrated, what would have happened in the house. You're going to hear some stories from them, the family lore that people still remember, and be sure that they tell you about the pigs in the basement, because it's my favorite story. But first I want to thank our gold sponsors, Sally Brown, Daniel and Company, and Bucci and John Zugner. They are among our donors, and we love them because they help us sustain through all that is happening in the world today. And so each of you is very special to us for joining us tonight and being a part of this story of how we reimagine a 101-year-old Tudor mansion to be really significant again for Richmond and for the arts community. So welcome. We're going to take you first to our dining room, and we want you there to meet Walter and Jenny Dotz and Bucci and John Zugner. Walter and Bucci are great-grandchildren of Beulah and John, and they're going to tell you the stories, some of which they learned directly from their parents because they celebrated in this very house. Welcome. Oh, welcome inside. And before we go anywhere with this, I really do want to say I would be remiss if we didn't thank our corporate partners. RVAV, who is with us all night tonight on our production, and A Sharper Palette. We're going to go first, as I promised, up to the dining room, where you'll get to see a beautiful Renaissance tapestry that was actually hanging in place when John and Beulah were here in the house.
Welcome to our Christmas celebration. Come in.
Welcome. Merry Christmas.
We've been expecting you. Here are some places at the table for you. I'm Walter Dotz. This is my wife, Jenny, my cousin, Bucci Reynolds Zugner, and her husband, John Zugner. As we celebrate tonight, much like Dickens' classic Christmas tale, we'll be visiting the past, reveling in the COVID-careful present, and glimpsing a little bit of what the future holds for the branch. But first, I'd like to join Penny and Frank Fletcher in a toast to John and Bueller Branch, whose story and legacy we are celebrating tonight in their marvelous house amidst some of the objects from their collection of art and antiques, their silver, and even place settings. Here's to John and Bueller Branch.
Cheers.
Well, Walter, I understand that our branch relatives like tapestries. Can you tell us a little bit about the tapestry in the room?
Great question, Bucci. Bueller Branch was particularly interested in textiles, and it led to a lifelong interest that was made manifest in a collection of tapestries. This one was one of the jewels of the collection, and it has a number of aspects to it that are important, not the least of which is the whole idea of its being showing the principle of decor. Because if you look at the tapestry, it is of a feast. So to have that in the dining room is most appropriate.
It's like they're right here. I mean, they're they're right here. They're big and they're enjoying a table full of wonderful food and drink, just like us.
It's not a Christmas celebration, though, because it's an Old Testament story.
Oh, well,
But they are feasting, and we should do the same.
let's do it.
Indeed.
Here, dear.
Here, here. Well, I would like to propose a toast from Gretchen and Morgan Friday and their two angels for everyone to have a happy holidays.
Here, here.
Cheers.
This really is a wonderful table setting. I understand that the branches spent several months out of the year back in Richmond. Can you tell us where they kept this stuff, or did they bring it with them every time they moved back and forth?
Well, you might remember, John, they had three houses. One up in Dutchess County, New York, which was their summer house. A villa outside of Florence on the road to Fiesole. And this was their main house. And they spent 4 or 5 of the winter months here. Each house was outfitted completely, so it made it very easy to go from one to the next. And when they left this one, they wanted to be sure that all their valuables were still here when they got back. So they put all the silver and the important things in the safe. You might want to show that, point it out a little bit.
Oh, see if they left any goodies behind.
Anything in there, John?
Well, no, I think most of the stuff is on the table and scattered around the house for the holidays.
You didn't find any bootleg
No,
alcohol in there, did
no,
you?
but I was hoping we might find some. Do you know where they may keep it around the house?
Well, first of all, I mean, it was Prohibition when this house was built, or when it was finished in 1920. Prohibition came in, big parties like this, no alcohol. What did they do?
Well, the Branches loved their alcohol, that's for sure. And when they moved in 1919, they knew Prohibition was on the way.
Right.
So they prepared. And there is a secret room that they filled with liquor so that they could continue partying after Prohibition had actually started. that secret room is not much of a secret anymore.
Well, it won't be after tonight anyway.
But you used to gain access to the secret room by stopping the elevator between the floors. And that was the only way you could get into it.
Well, I hope everyone kept their lips zipped and kept the secret safe.
I doubt if they did.
Well, I have another toast from Dixon Kerr to the healthcare workers who risk everything to keep us safe and well, and to the yoga teachers who throughout the pandemic, the toxic cultural era, and stressful times, keep our minds clear and healthy. Salud and namaste.
Namaste.
Here, here.
Thank goodness.
Okay.
So what's for dinner? Oh, look at your menu. Can you believe this? There are 13 courses. This is a menu that, according to your cousin Caroline, would have been a typical formal dinner. We're starting with scalloped oysters and moving on to flaked halibut with drawn butter and chopped eggs.
I'm looking forward to
And
that.
then moving on to wild goose with roasted apples. Now I'm skipping a few courses here because we could be here all night just reading the menu. But my favorite is raised biscuits with corn gems, whatever that is. It just sounds so beautiful and bland.
Sounds delicious.
But how about salad with Ida's cooked salad dressing? Cooked salad dressing. And Ida, I love that there's a name attached to this.
Ida was a wonderful woman.
Oh, you knew her?
I did, briefly. I was very young. But after my great-grandmother died, Ida stayed on with my grandmother as a cook and would go up to Elmwood and cook for us up there. And I, being very young, was privileged enough to be able to hang out in the kitchen with Ada. And one day she looked at me, I must have been 5 or 6, I guess, and she thrust a basket into my arms and said, "Go down the driveway to the cherry trees, pick a basket of cherries, and I'll make you a cherry pie."
Wow.
And I did. I went down and picked the cherries. They were sour cherries, and she made a cherry pie. And I swear it's one of the best things that I've ever had in my life.
Oh, let's
One of
have a
those
toast
great-
to Ida.
I would love to
I
toast
love
to
Ida.
Ada.
Well, this is to Ida and all the people who kept this house going for 101 years now.
Indeed.
And, you know, yeah, we
What
need
a
to.
legacy. Thank you.
Thank you, Ida.
You know, as I was coming in, the person who took my coat said something about the pig. The pig was a special member of the household. What was he talking about?
Well,
Vegetarians hate this story.
you've got to remember that Bueller grew up on a farm. So she was much closer to the source of her food than most of us are today. And she was used to having livestock around. So for Christmas, which was a big deal, I mean, that's when she gathered all her family around her in this house. They had a wonderful dinner, and they always had a suckling pig with an apple in its mouth. And for the previous 2 or 3 weeks to Christmas, she would procure a suckling pig and have it in the sub-basement, fattening it up for
Oh, my
Christmas
goodness.
Day.
Do you think it grazed out in the
No.
courtyard?
They kept it in the basement, and the poor pig was being fattened up for these people who wanted to eat it.
Oh, wow.
However, how many houses do you know that had a pig in the basement?
An honored guest.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, golly, it is funny.
Well, there must be a toast to
the people who helped us put this together tonight.
Absolutely. We would like to, I guess, oh yes, here we are. We have a toast from Susan Reed. Cheers to the branch staff for all the wonderful things you do.
Here, here.
Yes, they are
Here, here.
incredible.
And, you know, that story about Ada reminds me of the other wonderful desserts that were characteristic in this house and made by the staff. And one of them was gingerbread, a wonderful gingerbread cake that had a thick yellow lemon sauce, just scrumptious on top of
Oh,
it.
we're gonna have some tonight?
It would be nice if we did.
You know, I think your sister, Zabe Childs, sent a gingerbread house for us to look at this evening. She's one of the gold sponsors, and it is a spectacular house.
Oh, what is this?
Let's toast to Zabe Child.
Here, here.
She's a gold sponsor, and that's important for us.
I'm dying to see the gingerbread house.
Should we go look
Me
at them?
too.
Yeah.
Let's see what the gingerbread houses look like, and do we know who's won the competition?
It's not as bad
I
as
hope I did, but
Not yet, I think it's not over yet.
John, you had to make one in order to enter the competition.
yes, well, I hope I get a bite of each one. How does that sound?
You will.
Well, what a feast we've had tonight.
Okay, so
And-
let's go take a look. Are y'all ready? And then we can have coffee upstairs.
Absolutely, I'm
Let's do
looking
it.
forward to it.
Good evening. My name is Stephanie Burr, and I am the Education Manager at the Branch Museum of Architecture and Design. We here at the Branch have been getting into the holiday spirit. We've decorated the outside and inside of the house with trees, lights, and wreaths, much like the Branch family traditionally would have done when they lived here. But this year, we've actually departed from the tradition a little bit, started our own tradition with our first annual gingerbread design competition. Now, gingerbread houses aren't exactly new. They date back to the 17th century. And so perhaps Christopher Branch may have been familiar with this form of architecture when he arrived in the colony of Virginia. We do know, however, that the Branch family enjoyed gingerbread each year when they celebrated the holidays here on Monument Avenue. And so it seems fitting that we hold our own gingerbread-related programming at the Branch Museum. A few about we didn't have a theme, but we did encourage participants to think beyond a simple gingerbread house and more broadly to any aspect of the built environment. We also wanted them to think creatively about the usage of building materials. And so all parts of their design, with the exception of the base, had to be edible. Registration was free and open to individuals, teams, and families throughout much of the month of November. And last week, all of our submissions came in. So behind me here in the long gallery are our 8 submissions. And you can actually help us choose the winners for this competition. But before I tell you how you can do that, I wanted to spend a little bit of time showing you a couple of the entries here to let you see up close the creativity of our neighbors. So the first one that I wanted to show you is this one right here. This is called Mountain House Getaway, and it was created by 12-year-old Sailor Naren. Let me read to you her description of her creation. My inspiration was a house on a mile-high mountain, figuratively speaking, with breathtaking windows. I had the house all sketched out, but it's not as easy as you think to take your dream drawing and make it real. So after a few adjustments, I decided with a slightly different sized mountain, more of a modern style house and different decorations. Now my house is a medium-sized modern house sitting on a large hill and over top of a river. It is located in a snowy climate with mountains surrounding it, most likely somewhere in Colorado over top of one of the rivers there. What I really like about this entry are a couple of things. First of all, she did a really great job of recreating an architectural style in edible form. She also used a lot of different types of building materials, and I want to point them out to you. The landscape that she created here, including the hill, she sort of formed out of Rice Krispie treats, and then she laid over top of it a really thin layer of fondant to simulate snow. She then constructed the house out of gingerbread, graham crackers, and pretzel sticks to give you those nice straight lines and geometric shapes that are characteristic of modern architecture. I like that she used different types of cookies to provide support for the structure and access with these stairs. And then she also used a lot of different materials to create a sort of river for her house to sit on. And she did that with blue sprinkles and corn syrup and banana chips and cookie pieces covered with a thin layer of icing to simulate the shoreline. The part that she's the most proud of, according to her father, is the garlands and the wreaths on either side of the house. To accomplish this, she used a little bit of royal icing and then carefully and meticulously placed the sprinkles around. She definitely has a lot to be proud of. She did a wonderful job with this creation. Now I know that our time is fairly short, so I do want to show you one more entry in our competition. I wish I could show them all to you. But we'll come over this way, and I'll tell you a little bit about this entry. This is in our adult team category, and it was created by Chris Strauss and Quinny Fan. They did a phenomenal job of recreating Richmond's Main Street Station, not Monument Avenue, Main Street Station. And I want to take this opportunity to show you some of the really great details that they included as part of their design. They felt that the gingerbread itself pretty well approximated the color of the Roman brick around the exterior of the real station. But when it came time to create the roof, they had to be a little bit more creative. And so what they did was they used dehydrated orange slices to sort of replicate those orange clay tiles that we're very familiar with. A couple of other really great details. In the windows, they used gelatin sheets to create that sort of wavy glass that you see in a lot of older buildings. If you look inside, it might be kind of hard to see, but you definitely don't want to miss it. There's a Christmas tree standing in the middle of the station that's flanked by 2 chocolate snowmen. And then around the back, this is one of my favorite parts, is a great little surprise, a railway bridge and train. And that railway bridge, it's an arch bridge created with gingerbread pieces, graham crackers, and candy canes, among other materials. And that tiny train is absolutely adorable. So these are just 2 submissions from this year's competition. And I mentioned that you would have the chance to help us choose our winner. So let me tell you how you can do that. We will be honoring one of these entries with the title of Crowd Favorite, which will be based on the outcome of our online ballot. You can visit our website and vote for your favorite, and we'll drop the link so that you can do that in the chat. One of these entries will also receive the title of Most Valuable Gingerbread, and that will be based on in-person and online donations. To participate in that form of voting, you can go a couple ways. You can come visit us here at the Branch Museum during our business hours between now and January 5th. Take a look at the different designs that we have, and once you've chosen your favorite, drop your spare change in the gift box next to your favorite design. Or you can vote online with a donation as well. Whatever your method of choice, we greatly appreciate your help helping us determine a winner of this competition. Now, before we move on to the next segment, I did want to share with you a few highlights from our educational programming this year at the branch, as well as a look to what's going to be coming up next year. Despite the impact of COVID-19 on pretty much every area of our lives, we successfully ran 2 sessions of our annual summer architecture camp. This camp is geared towards middle school age children, and throughout the week we safely investigated different aspects of the built environment, from practicing technical drawing skills and choosing building materials to learning about different architectural styles and urban planning. We also had the opportunity to meet several experts in their fields, architects, engineers, urban planners, and others throughout the week as well, which was a lot of fun. We're excited to offer this camp again next summer, as well as one other thematic camp, and we'll be expanding our reach to rising 3rd through 5th graders. Stay tuned to our website and our social media for more information on these sessions, as well as how to register. We'll also be continuing our webinar series on the restoration of the Branch House and on our Architecture and Dialogue series, which we've partnered with the Aga Khan Council of the United States of America to examine different issues that are relevant to architecture and design. We hope that you'll join us for both of those series, as well as other programmatic offerings next year. Before I let you go, I do want to make a couple of toasts. So if you'll grab your glasses. This first toast is from, on behalf of Andres Dotson, to the branch for a fabulous internship opportunity and a start to a fulfilling career in museum education. Cheers. And my second toast, which is from me, to many more museum education interns who might follow in Andre's footsteps. Cheers to that. And if you know of any young people who would love to be interns here with the Education Department at the Branch Museum, send them my way. I hope that all of you have a happy, healthy, and safe holiday season. And we look forward to seeing you all again next year. Thank you.
Here we are in the long gallery of the house, a room that was once hung with Renaissance tapestries and with Renaissance portraits. However, that collection went to establish the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts, and that was John and Beulah's contribution first to the arts life in Richmond. We have one piece that remains with us, and that is these beautiful Renaissance doors that were brought over from Italy. And we value them because they connect us to that history and to the arts community. In this room, they would have a large tree, and it would be hung with all kinds of gifts for children, and Bueller would invite in the neighborhood children. It's a wonderful story, once written about in her memoirs by Mary Tyler Cheek. Sally Branch rewrote that story for her children and put it into a book form, and we wanted her to read it for you tonight, joined by her children, some of the youngest descendants of John Carr Branch and Beulah Gold Branch. Welcome to the chapel.
Christmas at the Branch House by Mom and Dad. Mary's best friend at school was Beulah. Beulah's grandparents, Mr. and Mrs. Branch, lived in a splendid house, one of Richmond's great architectural treasures. On Mary's 5th Christmas Eve, the Branches gave a party for their grandchildren, to which all of Beulah's friends were invited. When they arrived, they felt as if they were entering a fairy tale palace. In the large central room that was 2 stories high stood an enormous Christmas tree that reached towards the sky. Hung amongst the ornaments were stuffed animals, dolls, jack-in-the-boxes, and candy canes. Barely room for them all. After they had refreshments of cocoa with whipped cream, little chicken sandwiches, and ribbon candy in lustrous pink, green, and white, they gathered around the Christmas tree to marvel at the lights. Each child pointed to a toy and gave Mamselle a look. She brought them down using a long pole with a hook. It was a magical party. As Mary and Susie walked home in the twilight, a light snow began to fall. So far, this had been the best Christmas of all. When they entered their house, Mother and Father were decorating the tree. Excitement was in the air, knowing Santa would soon be down the chimney. The end. Thank you so much for enjoying this special moment with me and my family. And now we're going to go take a sneak peek into what was Bueller's bedroom for over 50 years.
Welcome to Bueller's bedroom. This room is a personal favorite of mine for several reasons. The plasterwork and decoration in this room are exquisite, and they are very different from the rest of the house. We feel that this room is where you definitely see Bueller's personal taste and style shine through. This is also the room where we decided to start the restoration of the branch house in 2018. Pieces of the ceiling were falling every day, and we feared that we might lose forever some of the exquisite plaster decoration. As is so often the case, when you begin restoration, you begin to get to know the people who originally designed and built a house. Beulah Gould Branch grew up in upstate New York. She was raised as a Quaker on the family estate Elmwood in Paulding, New York. As was typical of families of means at the time, she and her sister traveled extensively in Europe and even on the African continent. We know about those travels through her travel journals. On one fateful day, while riding in the Black Forest, Beulah and her sister made a new acquaintance, Mr. John Carr Branch, an event that she recorded in her diary that evening. One of the lovely sequences in those diaries is to see the progression from referring to her future husband as Mr. Branch, then JKB, and ultimately Jack, the name she would call him throughout her life. We even have a calling card that she carried with her always. Miss Gould, Merry Christmas, Jack. It can be hard to look at just portraits and imagine what their life would have been like, but many things give us glimpses into that life. Fashion was important and dictated by certain norms during the 1920s. Dinner dress for men was described in the Encyclopedia of Etiquette, 1915 by Emily Holt. For that long ago Christmas dinner, John Branch would have followed the rule. Full evening dress is the rule. Black full dress coat and trousers with a waistcoat of white piqué, cut open in a long, graceful U in front to display an immaculate expanse of stiffly starched white linen ornamented with 2 or 3 small pearl studs. In this portrait, John Carr Branch is wearing exactly such formal dress. A lovely southern touch is the gardenia in his buttonhole. The Branch is dressed for dinner every evening, even when dining alone, although JKB might have worn the more informal dinner jacket under those circumstances, but certainly not for Christmas dinner. Emily's guide further specified it is not good form to wear a made-up tie, to wear a white waistcoat or white tie with a dinner jacket, to wear a black waistcoat or a black tie with a full dress coat, unless in mourning, to wear a frock coat or a cutaway in the evening, to go to the opera or to an evening dance in winter without white gloves, to wear white or colored socks, or a turned-down collar, or a derby hat or bowler hat with full evening dress, to wear any but black boots, shoes, or pumps with afternoon or evening dress, or to wear a top hat with a dinner coat. Mrs. Branch would have discussed the specifics of her ensemble for the evening with her French lady's maid, who was named TK. Fortunately, the Valentine Museum currently has on display a gown that Beulah probably wore for Christmas 1920. They have kindly lent us images of those dresses. Guidelines dictated for Beulah. For women, the formal dinner costume is décolleté. The hair is elaborately dressed, and matrons wear their jewels. As Beulah's collection of jewels had yet to be stolen, this would happen in Italy during the 1930s. we can surmise what she might have worn on such an evening. As an article in Harper's Bazaar put it, pearls, strings of pearls, be they real or imitation, are nowadays a necessary component to any woman's costume. It was especially chic to wear several strings in varying lengths. With these, she may have chosen dangling earrings, a combination of jewels that she is depicted wearing a decade later in her portrait by de Laszlo. With the ankle-revealing skirts of the early 1920s, Bueller was likely to wear shawls with jeweled buckles, perhaps even the new evening sandals. Her silk stockings would have been simple and nowhere near as sheer as they would become in later decades. A festive touch would have been a jeweled bandeau in her hair, and we know she loved her hats. These could only be secured with her beautiful collection of hat pins in order to even stay on her head. She might have carried one of her collection of antique fans, or a particularly stylish fan from the 1920s, an ostrich feather fan. Likely she wore scent, perhaps a dusting of face powder, but other cosmetics were not used widely. Bueller would have sat at this desk in this very room, planning the Christmas festivities for her family. We have many recipes in her handwriting. A few of those are in your gift packets today. She would also have planned the gifts for her family and the party for neighborhood children sitting at this desk, the same party that Mary Tyler Cheek described so vividly many years later. Once they began using our branch house as their holiday home, Bueller certainly created her own traditions. 1920 would have been their second Christmas on Monument Avenue. They had begun to fill the house with their art. You saw the spectacular tapestry in the dining room. But Christmas really started in Bueller's bedroom. The family would gather around Bueller's bed in the morning and find two presents for each family, one very practical and one more frivolous and exciting. Bueller also had a strict rule about wrapping her gifts. No tape could be used. You are going to see one of our staff members, Malia, in a moment, taking up what we call the Bueller Gould Branch Challenge and trying to wrap a gift without tape. And we have included your own instructions if you wish to accept this challenge at home. With Bueller's presence and all that we still have of her, we feel that the beating heart of the branch house was in this room, where she planned and dreamed for her beloved family. It has been my pleasure to show you some of that tonight and invite you to step past the kissing nook, the private door to John's bedroom, and then step into the family's reading room, where we will take up the Bueller Challenge on that gift wrap.
So I'm here in the reading room. This is where the Branch family would spend a lot of their time. Behind me, I have another architectural treasure created by John Russell Pope behind me. That's what is now the Children's Science Museum. So I'm going to take on the challenge that Bueller set for every single gift she gave. The one requirement was that it could not use any tape to wrap it. So to start off, we have our box. And to measure out the amount of wrapping paper that you need, you're going to measure out all the way around, so 4 times. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and maybe add on about 2 inches and cut there. And it doesn't have to be perfect. And then you're going to cut out a square, so folding the corner up here. And again, cut along that edge here. And this is what we're going to use to wrap. So taking your box, you're going to see there's kind of a line that you created when you folded that square. And you're going to set the box in the middle of that line on one corner closest to you. And then pull up this edge, the bottom corner, so that it covers these 2 edges of the box completely. Holding that in place, take the top corner to you, fold over, and there may be some excess, that's okay. You can totally just tuck that underneath. And then you're going to take your finger, and there's kind of a corner here. You're going to run your finger across and kind of create a line that goes out from that corner. And then you're going to push in, and right here, you'll see you push in, and it kind of creates a fold. And you'll pull up, creating a flat line here. Fold over so that the edges align. And then you'll do the same on this side. So using your finger, creating an edge, pushing in, folding up. It doesn't matter what the inside here looks like, because you really won't be seeing that. And then you're going to repeat those same steps, but on this side, on both sides at the same time. So 1, 2. Folding up. Folding up. And folding over. And then you'll have this excess on the end here, which you'll just kind of fold over like this. And then there's like a flap right here that's been created. You can tuck that in. And there you have it. A gift wrapped with no tape.
Welcome. We're here in the Georgian Parlor as we wrap up tonight. Just a quick reminder that if you do have questions for us about anything you've seen tonight, we have a chat box going, or you can write us after this is over. But I'm joined again by the family, and this is the Georgian Parlor. We almost lost this room in 2018. We were flooded by an accident of the roof, on the roof. And so we are delighted. This is one of the first events we've held in this room after restoring it, and it's beautiful. So we are glad to join you here. And I'm not sure why the family has these tiny cups. Is there a story there?
It's prohibition, come on.
These are for liqueurs, and we thought they were perfect for small toasts since we have so many toasts.
So we will be toasting tonight. Did you have one you wanted to start
I
with?
have one from Alan Hudson. He wants to thank Penny and
Aw.
Kim.
Oh.
Yay!
Cheers.
And I have one from Mark Dre, who wants to thank Johnny and say, Happy Holidays to all.
Cheers.
In the spirit of social distancing, we are tonight actually going to do this segment in 2 rooms. The staff is joining us downstairs in the long gallery where you first saw the gingerbread. And they're going to join us with some toasts of their own, and so we're going to switch over to them.
In front of this beautiful Christmas tree, much like the one the branches would have had filled with small toys and gifts for visiting children. We're looking forward to a time in 2021 when we can welcome you back into these galleries. We're particularly looking forward to the family days and camps and school groups when these rooms are filled with the laughter of children and their joy of discovery. Our first toast comes from Erin. Merry Christmas, Mary. So thankful for our friendship. How's the auction coming, Heather?
The auction's going great. The auction bid is now at $1,300, and you have about 5 minutes to get your last bids in. We're closing the bid soon. So text your final bids now. If you see Elena and I getting excited, that means we got another bid coming in.
All right, and a toast from Dina Golding. The dance company wishes everyone a safe and Merry Christmas.
Cheers.
Welcome back to the Georgian Parlor. This parlor is very special to us because this is up on our 3rd level, which were the private quarters. And this is where Bueller would bring in her personal friends and they would have tea. That's what we're set up for here tonight. And special friends would come up here, and it was a very personal space up here. You've seen the gorgeous galleries. This was much more intimate. But this week, we actually had a hearing in City Council, and we got approval for our new special use permit. And Walter told an interesting story about the legacy of the house, really, and how appropriate it is that this has come back to being a nonprofit and a museum, because of the branch's cultural life and how your grandmother left the house. So could you talk a little bit about that, Walter?
When great-grandmother died in 1952, they weren't really sure who was going to take over the house. It had been left to Bueller's 2 daughters, my grandmother and my great-aunt Louise. And times were changing. The country was becoming more modern. Most people didn't live like my great-grandmother lived, with servants and in a house like this. Even if you had the money, you really didn't live like this anymore. And although my grandmother and some of her children considered living here, nobody really thought it appropriate, and they wondered what to do about the house. And they came up with the idea that it really should serve the community. It was such a remarkable house and so useful in terms of its space and positioning in the middle of the city and on Monument Avenue. And so grandmother bought out her sister, Louise, and then gave the house to what was then the community chest. She wanted it to serve the community, and she wanted it to be in the hands of a 501c3. Now, unfortunately, the house was a little much for the community chest, and the upkeep on it was more than they had anticipated. So ultimately, they ended up selling it. And to now come back full circle and have the Branch Museum of Architecture and Design in here now means that it's back in the hands of a 501c3 and ultimately will be serving the community in a cultural way that grandmother probably had not anticipated, but that fits in exactly with the way she had envisioned it working to serve the city.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I think it's wonderful to know that we have come full circle, and I can tell you there have been days when I've wondered if the community chest wasn't right, that it is hard to maintain, but the challenge is worth it, as you can see in some of the rooms we've shown you tonight. I think our staff back in the lawn gallery have some toasts that they'd like to share with us.
Congratulations to Eileen Gray, the winner of tonight's auction.
Oh, it was great. It was exactly.
We look forward to seeing you here in 2021. In honor of the Branch family, we wish you all a Merry Christmas.
No.
I heard a little bit.
Not at the last
but that was good.
anyway.
Should we put in a pitch for all the angels to help us?
Yeah, great.
back again one more time, and we were just chatting about one of the family members who really has helped us tonight, and Jenny was going to talk a little bit about her.
Yes, we'd like to thank cousin Caroline Milbank, a fashion historian and author who was very instrumental in providing information about Bueller Branch's wardrobe, about her menu selections, and just personal details about her life that bring this place alive. In her research, she pulled enough recipes together that we're anticipating a cookbook. And when do you think that'll be up? Are we aiming for 2021?
It's always a challenge. You saw the Beulah Gould Challenge, Branch Challenge. I guess this will be the Caroline Milbank Challenge. So,
but Caroline is
has a lot.
She's up to any challenge. So cheers to Caroline, and thank you so much. Cheers,
Thank you very much.
And I think John and Bucci, you each have some toasts that were handed in.
Go ahead, dear.
Right, I have a toast from Camille Robinson in New York.
Yes, Camille, yay!
Yeah.
We're all excited for 2021 and to be with all of you all together one day. Thank you.
Here.
Here.
And I have a toast, or a toast from Francis Sterling, who wants to wish everyone a happy holidays, and thank you for making this event so very special.
Cheers.
And I would like to make a couple of toasts. To staff, you've seen almost all of our staff tonight. We are small but mighty. It's been a challenging year, and they have risen to that occasion every time. So
Here.
here's
Yes,
to the
cheers.
staff.
Cheers to the staff.
Yes.
Then I would like to also make a toast to the family, because I can't tell you how helpful they are and how much your participation is making this place come alive in a way that wouldn't be possible otherwise. So,
Thank you. Thank you.
and then, of course, to all of our guests.
Yes, to all of you.
To our guests, have a successful 2021.
And to be together next year
Yes.
in person.
And we are going to be together next year, Thursday, December 16th. It will be our third annual holiday party here at the branch. And we are looking to celebrate it just as we did last year. And for this being a fond memory of how we overcame the challenges of 2020. And John, you had a toast to the angels.
Well, I just wanted to thank our audience for joining us for the special occasion tonight. And don't forget that the Branch House Museum and Design is open because of your generosity and your support. We hope that you'll invite your family and friends in to see how wonderfully this house is decorated, and keep us in mind all year round, because we depend on the support of you and our community to make this museum outstanding. Thank you, and happy holidays.
Yes, we've shared some of our
Thank you.
architectural treasure here with you tonight, and I hope you'll share it with the rest of Richmond. Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy holidays.
Happy
holidays,
Happy
everyone.
holidays.
I think on your little-
Happy holidays.
Thank you.